Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us for this special live session. I'm Itzik Amiel, and we're here in a weekly switch series called Switch It On, where we share ideas, insight, and inspiration to help you as a professional to switch your relationships to revenue, referrals, and reputation and stand out of the crowd. And you're all invited to join. So if you're watching it, please join us. It's for free. And today we're going to be talking about the solution for insecurity as a professional, or more specifically about how to deal with uncertainty and insecureness as a professional. Now, before I'm going to dive in, I encourage each one of you listening, welcome first. Second, please type in the chat box and let us know who you are, where you're dialing from, because we all want to know that you are here in the community coming to listen. So don't be shy. By the way, it's an opportunity to stand out. Type in your name, where you're from, so we know you are here with us in the room. And I see you all joining, but just type in the chat box your name and where you're from, so we all could see it. You see, I'm sure it happened also to you. You're talented, right? I'm sure each one of you there listening now is talented, but you get sometimes so lost or lose it, in simply trivial discussion for no obvious reason. Am I correct? Happened to you? How come? What is the cause for it? Now, the answer is deceptively simple, but very widespread. And you probably guess it: insecurity at work. See, this nagging worry that we are not quite as smart, informed, or maybe incompetent as we ought to be, or other might think about us. Or this fear that we are not good enough or simply not enough. This constant concern about being judged by other people. And what do you think the results? This feeling of insecurity leave us over dependent. Yes, right. Over dependent on external factor like admiration, like praise, like promotion, like winning prizes, like getting all kind of super people lists, people, lawyers, accountant lists that you all know about, because that's come from your insecurity. But even then, the feeling of achievement is generally temporary. And you know what I'm talking about? Because soon after, we turn inward, right? Digging inside ourselves for some confidence that remain, if I allowed to say, elusive. And that really brings me to the first question I want to ask and answer in this specific session. What are really the consequences of you as a professional when you're insecure? But before I answer it, I want to say hello to all the people who are joining us. So thank you very much. I could see that Martin Vidal, thank you very much, Martin Versonen from Spain. Thank you, Steven the Schrijver from Belgium. Thanks for joining us very much. Thank you, Achia from Israel, for joining us. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And I see Daniela and Alex and the Barno and Joreli and Ajiv and Rajesh. All of you joining us, please type in the chat box. I can see who you are. Thank you very much for joining and being part of this conversation. So, as I said, I want to ask the first question I want to answer, sorry. We're speaking about the solution for insecurity as a professional. And I wanted the first question I put and posed to myself to answer you is, what are really the consequences for you as a professional? See, insecurity makes it difficult for us to make our voices heard. Insecurity leaves us unable to maybe descend and make us tentative in our work relationships. It leaves us dissatisfied, and it undermines the collaboration. And even worse than that, it's really harm our team collaboration, our team creativity and efficiency. So if you work for a firm, that's actually one of the reasons that's being an obstacle for you in your career, in your business, in your practice. And there's one enemy of authenticity and innovation. You know what it's called? Insecurity. So when you're insecure, it's really in the bottom of all the things you do as a career. So no wonder we try so hard to get rid of it, all of us, all the time. And that's why I want to talk to you about it today. Because there's an interesting discovery I found out, and I want to share it with you. I want to share it with you right now, right at that point. After mentoring and training professionals, lawyers, accountants, and I can tell you thousands from all over the world for the last 2 decades almost, I found an interesting observation that perhaps the ways we understand insecurity and try to deal with it might be part of the problem. You see, so the way we try to deal with it, that's part of the problem. And I want to explain to you. So let me guess, your next question, of course, will be, okay, what do you mean, Itzik, right? You asked that. So let me share it with you. So let me explain. When we struggle with insecurity in the workplace, most of us turn inward, correct? To look for the problem within us, within yourself. I heard so many people that commonly see insecurity at work as a personal weakness associated with what they call imposter syndrome. Sometimes they link it even with ambition and overworked. As in the case, with people that we call labeled, and I've been there, insecure overachievers. And I must confess, as I said to you, I used to be one of them. Do you recognize it yourself? Maybe some of you will say, yeah, Itzik, you're right. I have this feeling. I also turn to myself. So what does that give us? So how can we solve that? Again, I want to encourage each one of you joining me again. Just type in your name in the chat box. I want to know who's with us so I can really tailor-make my answers. And of course, if you have any question during my session, please type in also in the chat so I can answer it as well during the session live for you. I'm here for you. So I want to share with you. If you have any questions, share it as well in the chat. Okay. So those of you joining now, I'm just to remind you, we're talking about the solution for insecurity as a professionals. And I want to, in this session, help you to solve that insecurity once and for always. The way I did it, the way I helped for thousands of others. And I want you to learn that also today in this short session. Okay. So that's the aim. And I want to first, as I said, to talk about the results of our view of insecurity before I give you the solution. Because this view really casts insecurity as both a flow and a drive. And maybe a result of deeply rooted belief that one is a fraud, even worse, that your achievements are a product of circumstances rather than competence. And that's horrible to think this way and create the insecurity. Because such beliefs make us cautious and maybe resentful in relationships. Now, the thought that crossed my mind is, and probably each one of your mind when you've been in that situation, oh, if they really knew me, they would not like me, but I will show them, right? It probably crossed the mind when you were insecure. And that's the reason insecurity becomes driver for maybe a chronic effort to prove yourself. Now, you're probably asking, hey, Itzik, what is wrong with that? That's really the reality. You just described me my reality. That's correct, because I've been there. You may be right, but this description do feel true to the experience of insecurity that each one of us feel. But they also, by the way, frame it as a personal problem. And that's what the problem is. The way we frame the problem of insecurity, it's already part of the problem because we think it's a personal problem, a product of our past, or maybe our professional background, and maybe you add to it your ambition, your talent, your sensitiveness, and you say, okay, I should be blamed. I should really learn to be more secure. But in fact, it's not true. In fact, insecurity is a social issue with psychological consequences and not a psychological issue with social consequences. Let me say it again because it's an important sentence. Insecurity is a social issue with psychological consequences and not a psychological issue with social consequences. So in a workplace, when you work at your firm or organization or the company, the roots of insecurity are often found around us, not within us. The roots of insecurity are often found around us, not within us. And here's a stronger truth. Are you ready for that? Are you ready for a stronger truth here? Insecure people are made, not born. You were not born insecure. You made yourself insecure. So that's why I'm very confident what I'm going to give you soon will help you cure it, because it's in your hand to cure it because you make yourself insecure. Remember, when you were a child, maybe you don't remember, but most of us were secure. We demanding even sometimes what we really wanted. So with that in mind, let's zoom in into your professional practice or into your career, okay? And again, I want to remind you, each one of you, if you have a question, please ask it in the chat. I will answer it during this session. If you're joining us right now, Please put your name, where you're dialing from, so I know you're here, and I can see you, Alex and Rena and David and Margaret and Dan. All of you that are joining, please type in the chat box that I can see and I can share it with our audience so you see that you are over there. Okay, so with me, let's focus, let's zoom in, as I said, on your professional practice, your professional career. And the question I want to raise you, the answer to you is how insecurity can be harmful to your professional practice. Because if we understand that, then you see the solution will be very easy. So if the only results that matter in your practice are really the tomorrows, what happened the next day? And if you are only as valuable as your clients, as your colleague judge you to be, let's assume that, okay? Then being insecure overachiever, it's not a pathology. It's maybe a necessity in such an environment. But here what research done by Harvard University regarding insecurity found. Becoming one is an adaptation to a cultural ideal. One that may be personally costly and for some professionally harmful. In my case, that was the case, and I hope not in your case, but it may be professionally harmful for you. And according to this Harvard research, insecure behavior, such as speaking less in meetings or shying away from confrontations, is not the expression of sensitive psyche. It is both a response really to subtle threats and a way of fitting in, or maybe more precisely, of avoiding getting the status of misfit. And that's why we behave like that. We don't want to be considered misfit. We want to fit in the environment we are because we're afraid of being misfit. Now, treating insecurity as a personal issue that most of us think, then leave us unquestioned the expectation that creates insecurity in the first place, right? I trust it makes sense. It's the insecure person's job to toughen up, not the organization job to loosen up. That's many of us think, right? We need to change ourselves, not the organization, not the firm, not the practice we're working from. It's our own problem if we're insecure. Probably other people in the firm telling you that when they do evaluation. You see, so no wonder the insecure work hard and feel alone. A lot of you feeling insecure, you work probably hard and feel alone because you have to solve it by yourself. So what is indeed the surprising solution for insecurity in the workplace? If that's the problem, and if I define it right, I hope you understand me, what is really the solution for that? Okay? So that's the moment, by the way, to say hello to new people who are joining us. I'm talking about how to solve insecurity at work. Very simple, very sweet solution, but I'm defining right now the problem to those who are joining me. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for all of you joining right now. Please type in the chat box where you're dialing from so we can really share it with the audience. And if you have any question, you know it by now, please put it in the chat box that I can answer to you that during the session, okay? So, and I hope you're doing it. I see more people are typing in, so thank you for that. And but that brings me to some insightful discovery about how to deal with insecurity. And I'm sure a lot of you here listening to me now, that's what you really want to know. Okay, great. You defined right my problem. I am insecure, maybe insecure overachiever. How do I deal with it? If it's indeed not a personal problem, how should I deal with it? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you think deeply about the feeling of insecurity, the aspiration for those who suffer from insecurity and those who try to help is a certain, maybe, detachment and autonomy that frees us from dependence on other people's approval, correct? Because when you don't depend on other people's approval, maybe you'll be more secure with yourself. Am I right here? Hope you are with me. That is well and good until you realize that throughout life, we need loving others in order to be healthy, independent people. I'm sure you understand that because we are human beings with social behavior. So it's precisely when we lack solid, supportive relationships, then we turn inward and become insecure. Interesting, right? Says the truth. Belonging is as fundamental a human need as autonomy, the belonging feeling. We all have some experience, and I'm sure you can describe as well, of relationship in which we feel we have this freedom. We can speak our minds, we can be vulnerable, can be seen, and without much fear of maybe jeopardizing the relationship itself. Can you think about such a relationship in your own life? Maybe with your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your mother, your father, but your best friend. Can you think about it? We might even experience of relationships that make us feel truer to ourselves than we could be alone. Like, for example, in my life, the relationship I have with my wife, with my daughter. Now, let's go back to your work environment, your practice environment, where you work every day. What if those relationships you have there were not an exception at work, but will be the norm? You'll be open, transparent. You could be talking everybody with no problem. What will be that case? What do you think will happen? What then will happen with insecurity? Think. And before I give you the answers, again, I'm going to say hello to the people who are joining me here. And again, you're not too late. We are talking about how to deal with insecurity. And I'm right away to share exactly what is and explaining the work environment when comparing it to other environment of relationship, when we love people and we have open discussion, we have feel secure, and we come to the work environment, we're insecure. And I just assume now that if the relationship at work were like transparent, I will feel comfortable and there's no insecurity. See, if this true relationship were not an exception at work, but the norm, yeah, you guessed right the answer. Insecurity would be a momentarily state and not a chronic condition. So in other words, it might be afflict all of us at times, but it would not define some of us for good, because we don't have to be called insecure overachievers. Actually, bringing our full self to work, our strengths, our vulnerabilities, ideas, questions, everything you have would be neither an achievement, not a privilege. It will be a gift that we receive and give in turn to others. And that's the power of it. That's the colorful thing. And you're able to be who you are. So you get now a bit badly puzzled about what solution they give you. And almost in the end, to summarize my words, but again, if you have any question right now, ask me, because if not, I assume you understand what I'm talking about. So I can really summarize again the solution I gave you for insecurity. Is powerful, is golden nuggets. It works so well with everybody else, but you have to practice it. Otherwise, it's just theories, okay? And I don't like theories. I like practical things. So if you don't have a question, I'll continue. But if you have a question, type it in, please, in the chat box. So if you're following my sharing in this episode, I think it's obvious that insecurity is neither a flow nor a drive, correct? It's actually a byproduct, if you want, of a professional firm workplace culture. I'm saying such a big, bold statement here, but yes, in which in many professional firms, individualism is rampant. Relationships are instrumental, and bias goes unquestioned in the firm or the organization workplace. And that's creating insecurity for a lot of people. It's not you. You are not the problem. So the answer to it cannot be simply be a set of better boundaries, if you want. See, to success, to accept, to overcome insecurity, we rather need to stop caring too much about each other and start to take care more for each other and for the workplace you're working in. Again, let me say it again, because I think it's important. If you want to accept and overcome insecurity, we rather need, because I told you relationship is the important part, the environment, the work culture, that's the thing that will cure your insecurity very fast. So in that work environment, in order to overcome insecurity, we rather stop caring too much about each other and start to care more for each other and for the workplace. When you are going to reach that point, insecurity will disappear. And I want to summarize by very beautiful quote that Dalai Lama already said many years ago, who said about insecurity. He said, a lack of transparency results in distrust and a deep sense of insecurity. Now we understand why in many professional environments, including one that I used to work in, because there was no transparency, because the relationship was not open, like you could say whatever you want without being judged, etc. That creates this culture creates the insecurity feeling of a lot of employees. And maybe some firms love that. I don't. Maybe many of you don't. Maybe you look for a different environment that support the openness, that support transparency, create such a culture that let insecure disappear by itself. This is about internal networking, talent building relationships, an important part to keep us better, healthier, and cure insecurity. So I hope you're enjoying it, my friends, and it's time to take action to implement what you learn in this session. I know it's hard because you need to change environment. If it's your own firm, it's in your own hands. If it's not your firm, try to talk about it internally. I trust you got some insight on how to deal with uncertainty, insecurity as a professional in your work environment. If you need, by the way, help in implementing it in your practice, or just if you want to learn to build better relationship internally in your practice or externally with clients, with other people, colleagues, this is exactly what we do to our clients. So we help to build engaging relationships with your clients and prospects and with your colleagues. Send us an email, send me a PM message to see how can we help. Next week, we have another amazing top expert to discuss a new practical strategy to grow your practice, build better relationship, reputation, and referrals, and then build your personal brand to stand out of the crowd. So if you want to make sure you don't miss any of them on the weekly Switch On interview series, please follow me on LinkedIn or go to the Switch Hub website, which is hub.theswitch. You see it on the screen. And there you can find all my business development strategies and tips. And check to register also one of my new online courses, a live workshop, because I'm creating new things. The new one is how to networking, conference networking, Compass. That's the last one, how to network before, during, and after, and networking to get results, not hopes. There's so many new things coming in. Go check it out. And you're, again, very welcome to send me a PM message or an email to ask your question, since you were shy to ask it over here. Again, if you have any other questions, send an email, send a PM message, and I can see how can I be value to you and your practice. For now, my dear friends, I want to thank each one of you for the time you were be with me, and I hope you're joining us for next week. See us, everyone, next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Central European Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time. And remember, it's never too late to switch on and overcome your insecurity. So thanks for watching. Thanks for being with me. Bye, everybody.